We are counting down 10 classic songs that millions have sung along to without realizing the lyrics contain shocking racism hiding in plain sight. From chart-topping country hits and beloved rock anthems to melodies linked to blackface minstrel shows, these tracks span decades and genres, exposing how deep-rooted prejudice can echo through pop culture. Which song tops the list as the most jaw-dropping example? Let us begin with number 10. Tim McGraw's debut single, Indian Outlaw, shot up the country charts in 1994, landing in the Billboard Top 10 and blasting from radios across America. But behind the catchy chorus were lyrics packed with shocking native stereotypes, references to wigwams, tom-toms, and a cartoonish vision of indigenous identity. Native advocacy groups did not stay silent. Letters and protests flooded radio stations. And at least 2 stations pulled the song from rotation after hearing from local indigenous communities. McGraw refused to retire the track, brushing off the backlash. Ojibwe activist Wabun Inini fired back, calling it boreash arrogance to tell Native people what should be acceptable. In 1980, the Vapors Turning Japanese raced up the UK charts, powered by a hook that mimicked the so-called Oriental riff, a melody long used to mock Asian cultures. The music video doubled down, filling every frame with geisha makeup and staged kendo fights. Academic studies have since labeled the song a textbook case of Orientalism, pointing to its fetishized cartoon version of Japan. Even the band's own promotional materials confused Japanese and Chinese imagery, revealing a basic ignorance of what they were referencing. Yet, singer Dave Fenton spent decades insisting the song had nothing to do with Japan, a claim flatly contradicted by every sound and image tied to its release. Queen's 1973 epic, The March of the Black Queen, slipped a jarring lyric past radio and label censors, a line using plantation-era slang for brown sugar, a term rooted in the history of slavery. The phrase appears uncensored on the original UK and US vinyl pressings, listed right on the lyric sheet and audible in the recording. No warning, no edits, no controversy. Over the decades, the line stayed put in every official reissue and remaster, never quietly changed or removed. The band and their label offered no public explanation or apology. Queen rarely played the song live, but not because of backlash. Its technical demands kept it off set lists, not its language. The Rolling Stones' 1978 track Some Girls Didn't Bother with Subtlety. In back-to-back verses, the song tosses out crude stereotypes about black women, reducing them to sex objects, then pivots to Puerto Rican women, branding them as welfare cheats. The band claimed it was all satire, a send-up of promiscuity and prejudice, but critics were not buying it. In the pages of Rolling Stone and major newspapers, reviewers blasted the lyrics as lazy and harmful, arguing that satire falls flat when it just repeats the same old racist tropes. Despite the backlash, the song stayed on the album, untouched and unapologetic. Elton John's 1975 hit Island Girl stormed to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, holding the top spot for 4 weeks. The song tells the story of a Jamaican woman working as a prostitute in New York, all with lyrics that lean heavily on Caribbean stereotypes and frame her as an outsider in a white man's world. Bernie Taupin's narrative reduces a black woman to a sexual trope, asking repeatedly what she is doing in a place that supposedly does not belong to her. Rock critic Robert Christgau described the track's faux reggae style as naive racism, pointing out how the music and story reinforce old prejudices. By 1990, Elton John had quietly dropped Island Girl from his live shows without ever offering a public explanation. Cher's Half-Breed soared to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1973, but its story was built on shaky ground. The song's lyrics describe the struggles of a woman with Cherokee and white heritage, yet neither Cher nor her songwriters had native ancestry. The image became iconic, but it was pure invention, born from Hollywood stereotypes rather than real tradition. For years, Cher's supposed native background only appeared when the song needed promoting. Decades later, the harm was impossible to ignore. In 2017, Cher publicly admitted the costume needed to go, tweeting that it was way past time. The legacy of the song isn't just a catchy chorus, it is a lesson in how pop culture can steal and distort identities for the sake of a hit. The opening riff of Brown Sugar is instantly recognizable, a staple of Rolling Stones concerts for more than 50 years. The lyrics, pressed onto vinyl in 1971, paint a scene of enslaved black women being sold at auction in New Orleans, whipped by their owners and sexualized for the crowd. Mick Jagger admitted in a 1995 interview with Rolling Stone that he could never write the song today, saying he would probably censor himself. Keith Richards later claimed the intent was to expose the horrors of slavery, but the track never offers any condemnation, only a driving beat and a chorus that crowds sang for decades. Yale professor Daphne Brooks called it the most popular song about the systemic rape of black women in slavery, a celebratory anthem of an unspeakable crime. After more than half a century on stage, the Rolling Stones finally pulled Brown Sugar from their setlist in 2021, quietly retiring a song that had hidden its violence in plain sight. Guns N' Roses released One in a Million on their 1988 EP GNR Lies, a record that sold over 5 million copies in the USA alone. The song opens with a string of slurs, including the N-word, and direct attacks on immigrants and gay people. The backlash was swift, but the most personal fallout hit close to home. Guitarist Slash, whose mother is black, recalled his family confronting him after hearing the track. In a 1989 interview with Musician magazine, he admitted he could not sit with a clear conscience and defend the song's release. The controversy did not just stay in the press. Organizers of a major AIDS benefit concert in New York dropped Guns N' Roses from the lineup, citing the track's unapologetic bigotry. Decades later, when the band reissued Appetite for Destruction as a deluxe box set in 2018, One in a Million was quietly omitted. Slash later explained simply that the song had no place in their legacy anymore. The jingle that signals ice cream trucks in neighborhoods across America traces straight back to the blackface minstrel shows of the 1830s. It's the melody known as Turkey in the Straw, started as a tune called Zip Coon, written to mock free black men trying to dress and act as equals in white society. By the early 1900s, the melody had spread everywhere, but its lyrics grew even more toxic. In 1916, Columbia Records pressed a version with the N-word in the title and throughout the song, pairing the tune with lyrics that celebrated racist caricatures and stereotypes. These records sold widely, embedding the melody in American life. When ice cream trucks became popular in the 20th century, they used the same tune because it was already familiar and easy to license. For generations, children ran toward a sound rooted in blackface entertainment, never knowing its history. In 2020, after the story resurfaced online, Das Good Humor commissioned a new jingle from Wu-Tang Clan producer RZA, aiming to break the chain and replace a melody that had carried racism into the present one summer at a time. In 1927, Broadway audiences filled theaters for the debut of Showboat, where a single song would echo through American culture for generations. Old Man River, written by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein II, opened with a verse that spelled out the racial divide. The original lyrics use a slur to describe black dock workers on the Mississippi, contrasting their endless labor with the ease of white leisure. As the decades changed, so did the words. They were first swapped for the word darkies in the 1936 film, then for colored folks in 1946, and by 1951, most white performers used a neutral phrase like, "Here we all work." But Paul Robeson, the legendary singer and activist who made the song famous, refused to settle for resignation. Starting in 1938, he rewrote the closing lines in concert, shifting the message from weary acceptance to a call for defiance. Robeson's changes were not just personal, they turned a song of suffering into one of resistance, even as official sheet music lagged behind. Across nearly a century and 4 official rewrites, Old Man River stands as proof that some of the most celebrated songs in American history were built on words that had to be rewritten again and again, just to keep up with the basic standards of human dignity. Across all 10 tracks, one pattern stands out. Racism isn't just a relic. It is woven into the fabric of beloved music, normalized and ignored for decades. These songs prove that popular culture can carry bias in every chorus. Examining the lyrics is how we start changing the tune,